I didn't want to do it. You made me want you, and all the time you knew it. I guess you always knew it.
If you love jazz, boy, do I have a musical for you.
Yeah.
And not like jazz.
Yeah, very like mellow
jazz.
Easy jazz, yeah.
This is going to be the most relaxing ASMR podcast we've ever done.
What do you mean? I'm going to talk like this the whole time, see?
Adam's ruining the vibes. But the vibes of this movie are sultry whispers, calm jazz.
Whisper, like barely speaking your lines.
Yeah.
Specifically
and then
for
every
one
once in a while
person.
someone gets shot. But other than that, calm.
Very calm.
Vibes.
Somebody gets slapped, but then it's calm.
But it's calm.
Yeah. Before we get started, this is a podcast. We will be talking about the movie, but not showing the movie.
We got another comment.
If you're looking for this movie, you can rent it. We are not pirates.
We aren't. No.
We never have, and we never will.
No.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing? RJ, how are you doing?
Girl, it's hot.
Okay, Molly, how you doing?
It is hot here too, and it's camp time, so I was outside all day.
It's hot and it's camp.
It's hot and it's camp. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, everybody.
I'm doing well. This movie, you know what? This is not a Pride movie. I'll say that.
No one's.
This is not gay.
Someone is proud.
Anyway.
You know, there is hubris, I would say.
There's literal.
I would think hubris is different than pride. Yeah.
There's literal pride. There's literal
yes.
like characters very too prideful.
Yeah.
But I would not say that there's any kind of other than like maybe Doris Day's dresses end up making a rainbow throughout the length of the film.
Sure.
There's not a gay. There's not even like one of these characters are a little you could read between the lines. It's gay coded. Nope.
No.
There's no code.
We really want to make sure that you get whiplash from movie to movie here on Showgays.
Mm-hmm.
This is just tragic straights this episode.
Yeah.
We're going straight to Bollywood next episode too. So we're really gonna jump all over.
Yeah.
Well, Amali, before we get into anything, do we have anything in the mailbox? I must ask, as always.
What a great question. Let me check. Let me look.
You know you made me love you. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it.
We do from Auburn.
Great.
I'm an ASMR this. Hello, Showgays.
Please.
This is Auburn again, pronouns they, them. Happy Pride. When I heard the trailer for Were the World Mine at the end of the prom episode, I astral projected out of my body. I hadn't thought about that movie in quite some time. My first watch was in middle school when I was desperately seeking any queer media and ended up watching anything I could find pirating the seas, including Queer as Folk and the L Word at 13 without supervision. Whoops. I couldn't call myself an early 2000s queer cinema expert, but there's a high chance that I have watched them all. And you're right, they are a product of their time and our most supreme bummers. I can't tell you how many queer teen movies I've watched where someone doesn't make it to the end, or there's no happy ending after all. It's not all of them, but there's a lot. This recent podcast got me thinking about the origins of the bury your gays in literature and how it parallels the early queer movies that were being funded and made. A quick summary from my memory of the bury your gays trope origins is that in order for authors to publish queer stories, they had to end in one of four ways: institutionalization, death, eventual heterosexuality. I'm sorry, I couldn't even get that word out. Or
disgusting. It's a nightmare on the lips.
Or some sort of sexual trauma that fixes the gayness. This partially protected queer authors who faced imprisonment or harm for being openly gay, and partially it was the only way to distribute and sell the books. The greatest example of this is popular lesbian pulp fiction in the 50s. It was a sales gimmick for shock and awe to have two girls on the cover, but also the Postal Service would simply not distribute these books unless they were censored. Thank you, President Trump, for getting rid of the Postal Service. The true villain. That one was from me. That was not from Auburn.
I was like, wow, Auburn's really going for it.
Remnants of these tropes still linger in modern media, and I find very interesting, especially when it comes to stories about queer women and their erasure. Of course, I wouldn't say the 2000s were nearly as bad as the 50s and back, but it makes me wonder if there was a similar feeling of that, yes, we produced this queer movie with a huge but, that there needs to be a hard end lesson at the end. Or worse, it can't be overtly sexual or have characters end up together despite sexuality being the point. Obviously, this is just my tinfoil hat theory of why there's so many sad gay movies, but I thought it was interesting. I'm not sure when the boom of actually fun and lighthearted queer movies came out, but I'm delighted we can have both now. I think all the sadness inspired me to become a rom-com writer myself. Shout out to the book The Trial Period.
Yes, please order Auburn's book.
Yes. On the topic of sad gay musicals, I would like to recommend Love Song / Les Chansons d'Amour, a French musical from 2007. Adam, French musical, how are we feeling? It stars Louis Garnel, who you know from Greta Gerwig's Little Women. He played the hot professor. Love Songs. Okay. Love Songs is equally melancholy, but it's French, has a polyamorous relationship, and everyone smokes, so it's chic sad. Now, this part of my email is a huge divergence. I have been re-listening to some episodes to help pass the time at my day job. One being, what do you think? What I want you to just guess. What old episode do you think Auburn might be talking to us about?
Rent.
Fiddler on the Roof.
The Diana Pro Shot.
Oh my God.
So not that old. Just last season.
No, not that old. Just last season.
Yeah.
Because the ones where you're all passionately angry are fun. You're going to be disappointed in this one. Adam mentioned a Harry Potter musical, and I have to speak up and recommend a different Star Kid production with better quality. For a change in genre, you could go in with a sci-fi parody like Starship with incredible puppets. I would like to pause here to tell Auburn, I saw Starship in person in Chicago. I didn't love it, but I'm glad that you like it. Or a horror comedy musical like The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals that's actually getting a reprisal this summer in LA. I've never seen that one. That one could be interesting. And I live by Los Angeles. I'm also partial to the Aladdin parody Twisted, which I got to see in person in Chicago. My first and sadly only visit. You should go back to Chicago, Auburn.
Yes, absolutely.
When I was 18. It does your favorite thing, explaining Jafar's origin story. Wow, I didn't know that was our favorite thing, boys, but that's our favorite.
It's a Wicked parody as well.
Oh, okay. But the performances are incredible, and one song in particular makes me tear up every time. I would like to add my commentary, which is that Me and My Dick is also a very good early Star Kid musical that everyone should watch.
Perfect.
Yes. There's a little bit more.
Nan, it's spelled D-I-C-K. So when you're Googling that, that's what you can use to look it up, in case you're curious.
Oh, I see. The joke being that your mother's not aware of any swear words. Oh, I have a quick story before I finish this email. My nephew, I was driving in the car with my sister-in-law and my two nephews, and my sister-in-law messed up in traffic and she swore, and my older nephew was like, Mom, and she was like, you're right, I'm sorry. And then he turned to me and said, unfortunately, I know most swear words now. It was very funny.
Molly, I want you to talk like this all the time because it's like very pleasant, and you don't sound shrill like you normally do. So it's
God.
Good Lord.
Now she's gonna get rid of it on purpose.
Now she's gonna turn on the Midwestern.
I can't remember which episode mentioned it, but Ride the Cyclone came up. Which is the weird younger sibling of Cats. I'm from Georgia and have always regretted not going to see Ride the Cyclone when it came to the Alliance Theater. That and The Prom. I can't believe I didn't go see The Prom before it went to Broadway.
Wow.
I might have a slim tutorial of Ride the Cyclone that is linked in this email. Oh, I'm sorry, a slime. It was spelled as slim, but that's what it was meant, I understand. A slime tutorial of Ride the Cyclone that is linked in this email that you can do whatever you want with. Ooh.
Wow.
Anyway, sorry for the long email. Never apologize for your emails.
Make theater accessible.
I'm just someone fascinated with stories and the forever changing cycle of fiction being told. Stories and trends are cyclical, and I wonder if we're in for a boom of sadder queer stories. I hear that we are, Albert. Reading is political after all. Thank you for a great podcast. I'm excited for the rest of the season and my first live showy awards. Oh, did we promise they'd be live? That would be exciting.
I think Auburn started listening after the SHOWGAYS this past one. I think they're saying they'll be
live, as in I will be.
Yes, they will be. Okay.
But that would be fun if we did one live. So I'm gonna put that in my in my cap or whatever.
At the historic Chicago Theater.
At the Goodman Theater, live show.
Thanks for writing in, Auburn. That was great. We are going to be doing another summer stock pro shot. But that will be happening later this summer.
Yes.
So I hope you're all eagerly anticipating whatever that film may be. Let's
Whatever slime tutorial it may be.
Let's go to me. Let's go to me.
Yeah, let's go to you.
Okay.
Let's go.
It's my challenge this week. I have to summarize this plot in a minute or less.
I think you can do a minute or less. Easy.
I should have written down even just the character names, but I'm gonna wing it. I'm gonna cuff
it's off
it
the cuff.
off the cuff. I did not have time to write this down.
Okay, Adam, your task to summarize "Love Me or Leave Me" in a minute or less begins now.
Ruth Edding is a taxi dancer in Chicago, which we've learned from Sweet Charity. She is discovered by a guy who runs a laundromat whose name is Marty something. He gets her a gig as like a dancer in a local Chicago show, and then she ends up becoming a headliner after a bunch of work on his part in order to get her to that point. Her career ends up booming. She gets really big in Chicago. She goes to New York. She gets into Ziegfeld Follies. All the while, he has basically her under his thumb, but she kind of like pushes back at certain points. But he's like her manager, so he runs everything. She has a bit of a flirtation with a rehearsal pianist whose last name is his full name is Johnny Alderman, and when she goes to New York to join the Follies, he tells Marty that she is better than him, and he's gonna be the reason that she he's the problem, which he obviously doesn't like. They go to New York, they get in the Follies. The hot-headed Marty gets in a fight backstage, and so he forces her to leave the Follies, at which point he assaults her, and then they get married. Then they tour her around the country. She gets bigger and bigger and bigger. She ends up getting a motion picture deal. They go to Hollywood. The music director of the motion picture happens to be Johnny Alderman, so they rekindle. And meanwhile, Doris Day's character Ruth is very upset and not happy in this marriage, so she starts drinking. She's unwell. Nobody's happy. And then there's like a fight that happens between Marty and Ruth. He slaps her. She seeks to file for divorce. Meanwhile, Marty catches her in a sweet embrace with Johnny, and he shoots Johnny out of anger. He goes to prison. He gets bailed out of prison. He has spent all this money trying to open a club in Los Angeles, to which she shows up on the night it's supposed to open, and she sings a song as like a goodbye and a thank you for everything you did for my career, but this is the end, and he accepts. That's the whole thing.
Thank you. That was about 2 minutes. And
I'm sure it was very long.
His name is Marty or Martin Snyder.
Snyder. Yes, that's right.
MS.
So, what a movie, right? What a wild time. RJ, what'd you think of this? Just real quick, one line. What'd you think? Wild, right? Crazy.
Yeah. Wild.
Molly, wild, crazy.
I did fall asleep.
You fell asleep, but
yes,
the plot, wild, crazy.
The plot ends up being wild and crazy.
Yeah. This is a true story. This is a biopic. So I did not know this until I went to start researching. Ruth Edding is a real singer.
Whoa.
And this was the part of her life that she was like, I want this on film.
Everyone needs to know.
The whole thing is crazy. So she is born in Nebraska. She moves to Chicago. She becomes... she's not a taxi dancer. That was added to the film because she has the taxi dancing song. So they used it as like a thing, but she was not actually 10 Cents a Dance, whatever. She finds a job at the Marigold Gardens nightclub. She ends up giving up her art classes, which she had originally moved to Chicago for, in order to start a career in show business. She quickly becomes a featured vocalist at the Marigold Gardens nightclub. She, was managed by Mo Snyder, whom she then married in 1922. He was infamous for like being very protective, blah, blah, blah. A lot of that seems to be true. However, in real life, they were only 3 years apart. He was born in 1893. She was born in 1896, just so everybody's clear, because the Doris Day James Cagney split is like 25 years. So just so everybody's aware. Okay. So She does end up becoming in Ziegfeld Follies of 1927. She does go to New York to do that. She has a long time of performance. So she marries Mo in 1922. They end up getting divorced in 1937. It was a messy divorce. Her pianist, Merle Alderman, not Johnny, Merle Alderman, who was separated from his wife, but not legally divorced from her at the time. They begin a relationship together after the divorce. Snyder didn't like seeing her with other men, obviously. Yeah. So he began threatening her via the telephone starting in January 1938. And then by October of that year, Snyder traveled to Los Angeles and detained Alderman after he left a local radio station. He forced the pianist to take him to the home of his ex-wife at gunpoint. He was saying he intended to kill Ruth, their daughter, Edith. But he ended up shooting Alderman. And then 3 days later,
gets bail.
No. He goes to prison. Weirdly, it's only like a year. Alderman does live in real life.
Okay.
And actually they get married in 1938 and then they like live happily ever after. It's great. They moved to Colorado Springs. It's harmonious. It's great. Okay. 3 days after the shooting, Alderman's not like separated wife sues Ruth for alienation of affection, which I guess was like, you're keeping him away from me. Like you're keeping my husband away. You are the other woman, basically.
You could sue the third person?
I guess you could at the time. So they claimed that they had been married in Mexico in July of 1938 on like a trip down there. But he was not officially divorced until December of 1938. And that was during the trial of Mo when they got married or when he officially got divorced. Yeah.
It's my understanding is it's pretty important to be fully divorced before you marry someone else.
Yeah. So they but then they had another wedding they had like an official wedding then later allegedly in like January of 1939 to like seal the deal or whatever. I don't know. Also in Mexico. But yeah, so then they moved to Colorado Springs and they stayed out of the spotlight except for occasional public appearances and interviews. And they died there in like the 90s. Wow. Isn't that crazy?
I want to look up a picture of her now.
Or the 70s is when they died. I'm sorry. She looked like a person from the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, she looked like a very 20s look, isn't it? With the eyebrows. Yeah.
So that was when I read this, I was shocked because this whole movie, I was like, oh, it just feels like it's stealing a bunch of bits from other movies and like crafting this thing. And then I was like, oh, no, it's true. I couldn't believe it. So most of the music of the movie is her songs that she made famous. Oh, okay. There are 2 original songs to the film. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, there's a whole Wikipedia page on her. And then you can read about the entire full dissemination of like the shooting and everything that happened surrounding it.
It's pretty wild that like actually the real story of the shooting is more dramatic than what happened in the movie too. That he was like taking him there at gunpoint and was going to kill her and like that's wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that's the background of the movie. The only other like production aspects that let me say this. So let me do my little sidebar. So it was directed by George Vidor. Its screenplay is by Daniel Fuchs Oh, I'm sorry. I said George. Okay, let me try again. This movie was directed by Charles Vidor. Its screenplay is by Daniel Fuchs and Isabel Lenart. Story is by Daniel Fuchs. It's produced by Joe Pasternak. It stars Doris Day as Ruth Edding, James Cagney as for the film Marty Snyder, and Cameron Mitchell for the film as Johnny Alderman. Cinematography is by Arthur E. Arling. It is edited by Ralph E. Winters. The music was by George Stoll. It was produced by MGM and distributed by Lowe's. Released on May 26, 1955. It's 122 minutes. The budget was $2.76 million and its box office was 5.6. It was the 8th highest grossing film of the year.
Wow.
The role of Snyder was originally intended for Spencer Tracy, but he turned it down. And then Ava Gardner turned down Ruth, the female role. And so then Cagney suggested Doris Day to the producer. He convinced Doris, who was like a devout Christian and thought that this role, like, it was like super scandalous, basically. And he was like, you will bring dignity to this role. So that's why she ended up taking it. She said it was like one of her best. She said she considered it like her best performance she'd ever given.
Wow.
James Cagney said it was in his top 5 films he'd ever made. And he made 62 films.
Wow.
It's the second film James Cagney had ever made where he split after he became a star in the 30s. The second film he ever made where he split the billing with someone else. Usually it was him and then people under him.
Yeah.
But he conceded the fact that like she has so much to do in this movie. It's very interesting. This was like a big moneymaker for MGM, which was shocking because MGM's musicals by this point had kind of petered out and they weren't as big as they were in like the 30s and 40s. So all that to say, at the Academy Awards, this was nominated for Best Actor for James Cagney, Best Screenplay, Best Motion Picture Story, which it did win. It was nominated for Best Scoring, Best Song, I'll Never Stop Loving You, and Best Sound Recording. So it only won the story. The story was like an old award. It was the second to last year they ever had the Motion Picture Story Award. And people were like, I do think it's I think I used someone's Letterboxd review where they were like, I do find it interesting that it won Motion Picture Story and not Screenplay, which I think speaks to the fact that the film is not great, well paced, but the story itself is like fascinating.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like basically all the stuff I got. Let me see. I had a couple other things. After this film was released, Doris Day was deluged with mail from fans attacking her, a Christian Scientist, for playing a lewd woman who smoked, drank, and wore scant costumes in the nightclub scenes.
She was a Christian Scientist?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Doris Day cared about everyone who was disturbed by her characterization, and she answered every piece of mail, explaining the necessity for realism and that it was essential to separate actress Doris Day from character Ruth Etting. She felt that as a performer, she had the same responsibility to the public that a politician has to the electorate.
Wow.
Okay. Do like an interview to address that rather than writing back to every individual person.
Yeah. This is another one. I'm also trigger warning. According to Doris Day, most of the scenes of violent confrontation between her and James Cagney did not appear in the final film because the censors wouldn't approve them. After Ruth Etting is a triumph in the Ziegfeld Follies, Snyder comes to her hotel room to see her, and she tells him to get out of her life. As originally filmed, Cagney slammed her against the wall, savagely tore her dress, and after a tempestuous struggle, he threw her onto the bed and raped her.
Oh my God.
In the film that ends up being cut, like what you see in the final cut of the film is he kisses her. She walks out into another room and he follows after her.
Yeah.
And then you see the next morning, there's like a photo of her saying that she's married to him.
I mean,
I think it's clear. I assumed as much. Yeah.
And I assume that it wasn't extremely graphic because of the time period, whatever was filmed, but that does sound really intense.
Yeah. I would assume it was probably a lot of like kissing and her saying no, and then probably a fade out or whatever. But even that is definitely more than what is in this film currently. Yeah. And then finally, we love our friends over at IMDb and their little trivia. They like to make up for no fucking reason because they just have free time on their hands. James Drury, an early TV heartthrob of mine. Whoever wrote this, by the way, this is again just on the trivia page. Has exactly one line in the film as an assistant Ziegfeld Follies director, and in the course of it manages to mispronounce Ziegfeld's name. It's a pretty common mispronunciation, Ziegfeld, but still, isn't that why God created retakes?
What gay man had nothing to do that day?
And I said there was not going to be any gay talked about today, and look at that.
It's the gays that are talking about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much all I have about the background of this film.
That's crazy.
Truly, I do recommend going and reading the Ruth Etting Wikipedia page because it's a real ride.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually very charming that she ends up then marrying Alderman and then just live the rest of their lives together.
That is great. I was going to say that one of my critiques of the film is that he is like a non-character. Like he is such an ingenue. Mm-hmm. He just like exists to serve the lover.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of wild that it's based on her real husband, who like she probably would have been able to be like, here's some actual information about what he's like as a human being.
So she said later in life that she was sad that this movie. So she didn't like her portrayal, and the guy who Mo, the real life Snyder, he said he didn't like James Cagney's portrayal. Now again, all three of these people signed away their rights to the story.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so that, I mean, I'm sure they were paid, obviously, like that's why you do it. But like, it's crazy to me that he was like even willing to like, I would be like, no, I'm not going to sign this away. And I'm sure they'd find a way to get around it and change it just enough that he couldn't sue or whatever. But they all signed their rights away for this story.
And I will be signing the film rights away for Showgays, a cinemusical podcast. So I expect...
What would be the arc of that, RJ?
Of our movie, of the Showgays movie?
It would be dealing with the constant fame of being the most important podcast on earth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How
And
is it
influencing multiple elections. Yeah.
how we personally got Donald Trump to win in 2024. Okay.
Exactly.
And how we, brought gay marriage to America, much like
how
Glee.
us and Glee.
We made gay marriage happen, and then we made Trump happen.
Right.
And, we've always been behind you, Mr. President, and we're...
Oh my God.
No King's Day, I say yes, King.
Yes,
Slay.
Yes, King! That's what we're about here. We say yes, King.
Oh my God.
To be clear, I just want to say this. It's big old fuck Donald Trump over here on this podcast, in case anyone's like, I don't know. Are they
That's
serious?
weird.
No, we're not
No,
serious.
diva.
Did you guys
Monster.
go to the protest?
Did we what?
Did we
you go to the
attend
protest?
No Kings? We did not. I had a Filipino community event the same day.
My culture's important to me. Okay,
My culture. Oh my God.
What was the other thing I
I
was
did
gonna
go, so everybody knows. Yeah.
Amazing. In San Diego, or did you?
In San Diego.
Nice.
Yeah, I did not go to the LA one.
Anyway, was there anything else? So Ruth ended up later in life being like, I didn't really like Doris's performance of me. There was like another actress. She was like, I think she would have done better. She said she was too strong, which I thought was interesting because I was like, Doris in this versus Pajama Game, which obviously we just watched. I was like, she's like, Doris is fascinating because I do think she innately has this very mature like strength in her body. So it was weird to watch her in Pajama Game where it's like on full force versus this where it is more demure. And I think she took the note of being demure as like whispering all of her lines. But there's a bit of like, she is like combative in the beginning. And then like, as the movie progresses, she kind of like fades
because her career keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Because he is like doing what she wants. Like she wants to be a star or whatever. But the other thing is she said that she was upset that the film did not, in her words, capture the happiest days of her life, which was her marriage to Alderman.
Yeah, because the story was focused on the saddest parts of her life.
Focused on the first marriage, yeah.
And then I think Mo Snyder just said like he didn't like James Cagney's portrayal and thought it presented a bad picture.
Who cares about what Mo Schmo?
I wouldn't expect it to be a positive portrayal. I mean, look, I obviously didn't even know it was a biopic, so I guess it'll go down in history as not her life anyway. But I do think that this movie has a really interesting ending, which was more than I was expecting from it. Right. When we started it.
This movie felt like it was the sad version of A Star Is Born.
The
sadder version.
Which sad? I was like,
the like
where both pretty sad.
They're very sad, but like in the terms of like it ends up happy technically for Ruth. Like obviously she goes on to a happy marriage later. But like she's so unhappy in this relationship, and it's so clear in A Star Is Born that they like love each other
right
so wholeheartedly that's not the aspect of like the problem.
Yeah. And you do kind of like root for them to like in A Star Is Born, like to try and get past the hurdles.
But it also at the same time it very much reminded me of Funny Girl in a lot of ways as well.
Yes,
where it was like a guy who's like a louse and a girl who
is amazing, like uber talented,
very talented, but also like the way the song ends here, the film ends with that song with Love Me or Leave Me, and then in Funny Girl, it ends with my man. And so it's a little bit, it reminded me of like the way that
like a
it's
thank
both
you
about,
to
like you did me wrong, but it's okay to
Yeah.
some extent. Like there's an acknowledgement of like it's more complicated.
Yes.
The
Which I
famous
do actually
genre
think,
of you did me wrong, but it's okay. Yeah.
I mean, there is like a level of like, that is the end of the film, is like there's acknowledgement that like he did help her,
do all
but
this
also
for
like
me.
it's a goodbye. Like
Yeah.
it's like, and then I'm never going to see you again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, should we get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
What'd you think?
Yeah. How are the dreams that you had?
Where did you
when I
fall
fell
asleep?
asleep.
At
Yeah.
what point?
So I fell asleep when she got off of the swing, when she's filming the movie and there's the swing.
Loved the. I was like, they built. It's a mat. I was so gagged
Yeah.
by that.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm sad that they never showed us the camera shot of like what it looked like from that camera's perspective.
I know.
And then I woke up briefly when the gunshots happened. And then I fell back asleep.
Perfect.
And then I woke up to see her in a green dress, and then I went to bed. The context, though, I should say, is that I was watching it. I had forgotten this weekend to watch it, and so I was watching it after the very first day of camp. So I was in a pretty tired
Very
state
tired
going into it.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much dancing and vibrancy in this film,
So
so I'm
much
shocked it didn't keep you
vibrancy.
awake.
Look, I didn't dislike it, but it's a bit of a slow burn, I think. So it's for a night when you want to luxuriate in a movie. It also is not really a musical. It is a movie with music.
It's a movie
She
with
just
music
does
for sure.
performances in it.
Yeah.
And there's like nearly
only
no
one.
dancing, and
Yeah.
almost all of her songs are just her next to a piano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little crazy. Interesting. RJ? Thoughts since you didn't see the last 15 minutes?
Because I was making dinner. Yeah, I know, a bit of a snooze. And at first I was like, it's crazy that we even have a second Doris Day movie because we've already seen one this year. So very interesting that we decided that.
And it's another Taxi Dancer movie.
Yes.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
did
after
not
Sweet
notice that.
Charity.
Yeah.
I'm very glad we did watch Pajama Game just because I felt like that's where we saw her as like a musical like force. Here, I do think that the focus was more on the performance of like the acting. I just think the story, it's supposed to be like long and arduous. It's supposed to be like, what is it going to take?
When is she going to get out of it?
Yes, to kind of like have her fully break out of it. And it was,
It was that.
it was, yeah. And it was interesting to see her go through all the different avenues of being famous at the time, like getting Follies, getting a picture deal, and like being a nightclub like a singer too. Like it kind of like covered all the bases, and like he keeps ruining every opportunity.
I will say, I think one point against the movie, just for me personally, is I do not like getting famous movies. I
should have
really
known
like
it was a
that
real
thing.
biopic from that aspect.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, it's hitting the biopic beats. This is wild. I like remember thinking that. And I was like, they just were itching to make these kinds of movies. Because it reminded me so much of A Star is Born, which was like kind of inspired by true events, but like also is its own fictional
Fictionalized,
story.
yeah.
So that's what I thought this was too. Like if there was anything, I was like, oh, I'm sure there's a story kind of like this that it's drawing from, but I didn't think it was going to be like a true,
An actual
like I didn't think
person's-
Ruth Edding was going to be a person that I was going to like discover.
Yeah.
I feel that this movie is like, I really have like no complaints. Like I was like not mad at it in any way.
Big like feelings.
It definitely suffers from I'm watching it in 2025 with my pacing, 2025 pacing in my mind. So like there are moments where I was like, this drags, but like it's just a 2-hour movie. Like it is a full 2 hour. Like you feel every minute of those 2 hours.
2 hours, honey.
But this isn't like a Sound of Music 3 hour.
Right. There is a push and pull. So you do feel it kind of like, oh, here's another wave. Oh, here's another wave. and you really are kind of just expecting like, is this the wave that's going to crest? And then you check and you're like, oh, there's an hour left. So
I do think the slowest parts of this movie are when she's singing. Like it's like the movie then stops to just like sing. And like the thing is like Doris is so good at singing. Like it's so shocking that I didn't know how good Doris Day was at singing as like a self-proclaimed musical lover, allegedly. So it was like enjoyable. Like I was always like, wow, she sounds great. But they're like, it's like 10 of the exact same song over and over and over.
Ballads, which does make sense again now that we know that like she was a real person. So I'm sure she had her like torch songs were like her thing.
Yes, very torch song.
But yes, there's not. We just talked about musical variety. I feel like in the prom, I think we were talking about it, and that is not a feature of this film.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear one of her songs. So this is 10 Cents a Dance, which was one of Ruth Edding's staple songs. And this is actually the title of the song is why they added that taxi dancer aspect to the beginning of this film, just so it could make a little bit of sense.
10 cents a dance, that's what they pay me. Gosh, how they weigh me down. 10 cents a dance, dandies and rough guys, tough guys who tear my gown. 7 to midnight, I hear drums, loudly the saxophone blows.
Now, I actually think it was perfect that we watched Sweet Charity recently because I would have no idea what a taxi dancer was.
Yeah,
I would not have known. So, you know, that worked out well in our we didn't plan, like we planned the season, but we didn't plan it knowing this, which I think is
I'm trying to even remember, like, did we put this in because we wanted to counteract?
This was one of the ones where I just like was searching like movie musicals, like, and I was looking for
like highly regarded ones.
I think it actually might have been a Rita suggestion. So I'm sorry, Rita, that none of us loved it. But I think it was somewhere on the suggestion list, and we were looking for time period variety.
Yes, which is what we try to do. So yeah, that was 10 Cents a Dance. What do we think about this Doris Day performance overall?
Quiet,
because everyone thought that she was going to get nominated for an Oscar for this, and then she was shut out.
I could see it. It feels very Oscarsy. It feels very like a meaty role.
They love a biopic.
Yeah.
It seems Oscars of the time. I mean, like the type of acting is not what would earn an Oscar now. Right. But I can see it as an Oscar movie in 1955 for sure. Mm-hmm. Was it just a really good year for movies, or it was like a genuine upset?
Yeah, you said it was 8th of the year. What were the top ones of the year?
Okay, here we go. Top grossing films of the U.S. in 1955. At number 10, I'll Cry Tomorrow. At number 9, Strategic Air Command, The 7-Year Itch, and The Sea Chase all made the same amount of money. 8, Not as a Stranger. 7, Picnic. Is that Picnic? Oh, that is Picnic, the play. Lady and the Tramp was number 6. Guys and Dolls was number 5. Okay. Oklahoma was number 4. Battle Cry was number 3. Mr. Roberts was number 2.
Oh, that's also Cagney.
Which is also Cagney and Henry Fonda. And number 1 was Cinerama Holiday.
Yeah.
Which is what?
What is that?
Structured as a crisscross travel documentary, it shows an American couple traveling in Europe and a Swiss couple traveling in the United States. Like all of the original Cinerama productions, the emphasis is on spectacle and scenery.
It was a Nat Geo.
Include a point of view bobsled ride, while the U.S. sequences include a point of view landing on an aircraft.
Oh my God!
Carrier.
Imagine in 1955 seeing a point of view bobsled.
It's basically Soarin'. Everybody went to see Soarin' in 1955.
So it's holiday, like the British holiday for a vacation. Not. I thought it was like the holidays.
A Christmas movie.
Yes.
It made $29.6 million. It was the highest grossing film of the year.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So eat that, Titanic. Okay. Yeah, I think her performance is really good in this, and I definitely think she executes it well. I also, however, feel that like I did enjoy her more in a rom-com.
Totally.
Which I know is more of her in her the totality of her
career has
filmography, she did more like
she is just like she's got a lot of moxie. She's very gutsy. Like,
do you think that you enjoy her more in a rom-com, or do you think you just enjoy rom-coms more?
For sure the second, but I think I mean, like I've obviously only seen the two, and it's even hard to compare Pajama Game to this because it's like they're two separate films. Yeah. But I
famously,
I believe her more in the rom-com kind of like teary, like my man jilted me energy more than I'm being domestic.
There's like a victimization of her. Yeah.
Because there was like that scene where she like breaks down in the attorney's office and she like asks for the divorce. And there was, I mean, some of the blocking is also a little weird in that scene. Like she turns around to like sit on the desk and cry, which I thought was like, why are you sitting? It was weird.
There's a lot of weird blocking in this movie, actually. There's a lot of backs that I feel like I saw.
I just don't. I think it's harder for her to live in that like she's so sad throughout. Probably 80% of this movie. And the only time she's happy probably is not like this.
The only time she's smiling is on stage when she's singing.
Yeah, and she's great in those sequences. I actually really loved the swing sequence she's on the swing.
Oh yeah, I think,
and the hat.
Yeah, I think that the thing too is like in comparing it to A Star Is Born, which is I think the closest comparison.
Yeah.
I think there's a more compelling push and pull to the relationship in A Star Is Born. Like I see the appeal, whereas this just feels like a person who's being abused. I mean, I literally think it's a person being abused. I'm not saying it's like that. It is that. And so, and she doesn't like want to be with Marty ever.
No.
He just blackmails her into it.
Yeah.
And so
it's that energy of like, I did this for you, so you should do something like for me.
I guess what's most interesting to me is the very end of seeing her have this sense of, I still owe you some small thing, even though you were really abusive to me. But most of the movie does not have that like central, like the central dramatic question is just like, when will she get out of this bad situation? There's not like as much of an interesting nuanced thing happening leading up to the climax, because you're just like, yeah, it's bad, she should leave. Like there's not really, I guess there's some push and pull of like, her career is so braided in with him. Like if she leaves, will it negatively impact her career potentially? But it feels like at some point she becomes so well regarded that that's just not going to happen. And it's only her own mentality keeping her in the relationship. So it's like, it misses some. If you're going to have a movie that's so like somber, like I need some tension of being like not sure where it's going or not sure what I'm rooting for to kind of like help me stay engaged in a really somber tone.
Yeah, I think they made him, what I think is crazy. I mean, we'll talk about James Cagney in a second, but I think like it's impressive that the Marty is written just like as a pure villain. Like he's kind of given no redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
Everything that you kind of find charming about it is just James Cagney being really good at his job.
Yeah.
And I do think it's weird that there is this huge age gap for them, because I would believe it a little bit more if like they were closer in age. So maybe she was like, there is like an attraction she has to him, or so, like maybe she's not like in love with him, but like she doesn't find him repulsive or whatever. He's just like her grandpa. Like he's so old in this. That like took me out of it. But I think it's a very heavy topic.
Yeah.
And so it does really, on retrospect, make sense that like that this is a biopic, because like there's no kind of like moments of levity in this film.
Yeah.
You're kind of just like mired in it until it's finally like she gets out or whatever. But even then she doesn't like get to like celebrate. Like he doesn't die. Alderman doesn't die. She goes and visits him in the hospital, and then she like tells Marty, hey, he didn't die. And he's like, I don't care, I wish he had. And she's like, okay. And then she still like performs, but she doesn't get to like say, she doesn't get like a closing line to him. She doesn't get to be like, I forgive. There's nothing, right? Like you're just supposed to walk away as an audience. And that's why I think like weirdly she's the protagonist, but I think like James Cagney's character is the more meaty.
He's a central character.
Because it's all about that whole last sequence is about him kind of discovering that song she sang for him, basically.
Yeah, he changes less, but then he has the most interesting change.
Yeah.
At the end, where she has like a lot of, maybe not a lot of emotional notes, but we see her like at the beginning kind of like conniving and doing anything she can to get famous. We see her like slowly slipping into despair and alcoholism. We see her, you know, succeeding in her professional career, and then how that's different from how she is at home. Like, I think she has more to do in the course of the film, but his change is more compelling at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think this is a bad performance. But it is funny. One of the trivia I read for this was that this is the only film where Doris dyed her hair honey blonde. Normally it was a little bit lighter than this.
Yeah.
And so she didn't really like this color, but I was like, oh, it looks really good.
Yeah.
I thought it looked good on her.
It does.
I guess, it does look good on her. I guess I'm left wondering when I said the thing about like, I don't have the push and pull that I did in Star is Born, is to people watching it at the time, did they not expect that same push and pull? Or like to them, did he seem more compelling than he does to me in 2025? Like, is it just that it's like so easy for us to spot abuse so much quicker now because there's been so much clarification that it's like we all immediately knew that this was bad, but like maybe the people watching it would have found him more interesting at the time or something. But I don't know, because it like starts immediately with him. Like we pretty early have the scene about the like, are they going to go away for the weekend? And we all know what go away for the weekend is a euphemism for. Yeah. So he tries to like basically say like, okay, no, you owe me.
Yeah.
Pretty early. Right, so I just don't know that it would have hit anybody as something different than that in the 50s.
But I think also, I think that's the reason why they cast Doris, is because I think probably a lot of American audiences, unfortunately, would have probably said like, well, she's in that like nightlife, like she's in that, she's a taxi dancer, right? She's in show business. You know how those types are. Like, shouldn't she expect that that's how this works? Like, this is like, we're still in the era. I mean, until 2017 we were still doing like casting couch jokes, so like I'm sure people were like, well, that is this your is end part of the end of the bargain, and I don't think they probably realized until later into the movie. I don't think they realized until later in the movie that like it is Bad News Bears going on. Yeah.
So maybe it would be more the push and pull for audiences at the time was it being Doris Day in the role. And so it was the challenging of assumptions about a person who worked in nightclubs, or it was the thrill of like seeing her in this more seedy role. I'm trying to think about our like purest celebrity nowadays. Like who would be the person that if you cast in this role, people would be like, oh, I want to see her like kind of get slummy. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard because I don't think we have as neat of types like the way I think more people play more with the roles that they're given, and they're afforded more opportunities because we're not in the studio system.
And I think also like it's all become so political that like I'm sure that there are like very pure Christian ladies out there being famous, but in a sphere that I'm not engaging with at all, right? So
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think that's a credit to them casting Doris, right? If people were able to like kind of view it in a different lens rather than just being like kind of shitty about this,
which we are kind of speculating about, but it makes sense.
True. But I mean, just based on the comments she was getting from fan mail, that they were like livid that she was like taking this role on. And I like that she like, I mean, like, I do think it's crazy that she responded to every piece of fan mail. That's nuts to me. But like I kind of like that she was like, I mean, this is a woman's real life. Like,
yeah.
I think it's important to tell these stories.
A real professional.
Well, I think it's time to talk about James Cagney.
Okay.
Now, has anyone here seen a James Cagney film? I just realized.
This was my first James Cagney.
I forgot because I didn't have the notes open that we skipped our personal. None of us had personal connections to this. Okay.
Oh, yeah. The only reason why I knew that song that I sang in the beginning was because Sherry Renee Scott in her one-woman show.
It was on American Idol?
No. Sherry Renee Scott in her one-woman show about leaving the Mennonites, she sang the song. So because I like listened to that album when it came out. So
RJ was obsessed with this musical when it came out, and he kept trying to get us into it in college. And we were like, nobody else is feeling it the way that you
Rapture.
are.
Oh, Everyday Rapture.
Yeah.
I think it was just because it was like it's just her singing standards. I don't know. It was very cabaret.
Yeah.
Okay, what were we talking about? I'm so sorry.
So,
Has anyone seen a James Cagney film before this?
No, but I've seen his animatronic over at the Great Movie Ride back in the day at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Not only had not seen a James Cagney film, it wasn't until watching this and looking up James Cagney that I realized that Cagney and Lacey was not a comedic duo that James Cagney was a part of.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like it was just their
unrelated. It was like
just
a
their like
Rizzoli and
acting duo.
Isles. It was like a show about two ladies who solved crimes together.
It had nothing to do with James Cagney.
I just would hear Cagney and Lacey, and I was like, I assume that's like a
Penn and Teller of the day.
Penn and Teller, Fry and Laurie, a famous comedic duo. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I think I have technically seen his performance in Yankee Doodle Dandy, which we will have to watch for this pod at some point.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating because he gets typecast for this gangster role that he plays in a lot of films. Public Enemy is probably his most famous role. I think he does it. Probably half of his credits are.
But he's like
gangster.
he sings. Is he a crooner? Is he just
He was like a little showman.
Vaudeville, like a vaudeville.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually another biopic musical because that's about George M. Cohen.
I think I've maybe seen just
statue
like
in
a
Times
clip of
Square.
him doing that. I feel like in like musical theater history class, I've had to watch a clip of him doing Yankee Doodle Dandy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I confuse him with like the Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland.
Oh no, those were the road movies.
Yeah.
We're gonna put on a show.
Yeah. He did look an awful lot like Ginger Minch. I'm gonna be very honest.
Wow.
Ginger Minch out of drag now, because Ginger Minch out of drag now is like very skinny, and like if you look at it, they look similar. I was like, wow, that's Ginger Minch. A recent Ginger Minch.
Wow.
If we ever get the opportunity to tell Ginger Minch, you're the James Cagney of drag.
I think he's so delicious in this, guys. I think he's so good. It makes complete sense to me that he was nominated for an Oscar for this. I don't know what to tell you. It's crazy to have a character this like deplorable.
Yeah.
But like there's still something that he brings to it that you can understand why people would be like. I don't think he's.
It doesn't come off as charm for the other characters, but there's something like they keep gravitating to. He keeps getting away with stuff.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes, that's I think what's more interesting is like there's so much he gets away with in this film before he finally goes to prison and then gets bailed out again. Nothing nothing happens. It's kind of crazy, but I don't know. I just like he was one of the greats. What can I say? He was one of the greats. It made me really want to go watch like one of his like actual like gangster movies.
Yeah. I don't know that I had quite as strong of a reaction, but I do want to watch more of his movies now. I definitely agree. Yeah.
I was like, when we were going into this, I knew he was in it. I had no idea what this movie was about, but I knew he was in it. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if he's like going to sing. Cause like I knew him from Yankee Doodle. So I was like, oh, is he going to have a song? I mean, it's crazy. This whole movie is just her singing. There's not a living other soul. No, that's not true. There's one girl that has that like featured soloist part before she gets it.
She's introducing the guy, Eddie or whatever.
But like even the other guy, Eddie, they don't end up showing his
full song,
his performance or anything. So
there are some male dancers that surround her during her Follies number.
I really like that. Let's play the Follies number because I really like.
We got a Follies and we
genuine Follies representation.
Yeah, not a Follies number, a literal Follies number, but not in our discussion of like the presentation of different Follies.
Yeah.
There's an old superstition way down south. Everybody believes that trouble won't stay. if you shake it away. When they hold a revival way down south, everybody with care and trouble that day tries to shake it away. Shaking the blues away, unhappy news away. If you were blue, it's easy to shake off your cares and troubles, telling the blues to go.
It was that line when I heard revival in the South. I was like, oh, where are we going with the South?
Yeah.
This was the moment, I will say, RJ and I, when she appeared in silhouette.
We gasped. We did do the gay gasp for the community.
I don't want to besmirch Ruth Edding's legacy, but the odds that somebody performing in that time period would have appeared in something related to Mr. Show is near 100%, considering it was, I will remind listeners, the most popular form of American media between the end of the Civil War and about 1920. So I am impressed with the movie's foresight in not including that genre in any of the picks for her.
Yeah.
I agree.
No blackface in this movie, by the way.
Phew.
So, you know, phew.
Really no songs about like other cultures even. Like we really just kind of skated past it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we think about the costumes of this movie? I really liked all her dresses.
I did like all of her dresses. I wish like this Follies one, I wish it did go all the way down to the floor. But I also know.
Oh, I liked it because it was silhouette, so I could see her feet.
You could see her feet.
Yeah, I did like that aspect.
There's one song where we like basically just see her as like a headless body because we're like seeing it from Snyder's perspective, and it's very lewd, but like damn, she looks good. I was like,
it's like just her boobs. Like it like starts here and then like goes down. Because she's like, she's body rolling. It's hot.
Yeah, she looks great.
She looks great.
She looks great.
We were hating in the being lewd in that moment.
We were lewd.
Lewd.
So that's where you as the audience are supposed to realize, like, maybe I'm just like Marty. Maybe I'm just as gross. Yeah.
Maybe.
I like the beginning of this movie where she is so
bad at dancing.
I do like that. But I like the beginning of this movie that she's like, I'm not. I like that you're supposed to know from the beginning that she is like that whole initial scene where she like won't take his card and she like does want to be a star, but she like doesn't want to do anything untoward to like get where she wants to go. I think it's like smart to set it up that way so that from the get-go, the audience isn't supposed to think like, oh, well, she's just, you know, one of these floozies. But I think that's where I think like the Doris Dayness comes through is she's so like strong in that opening scene that I was almost like later, I was like, oh, I don't know if I believe that you would then be like, oh, it's fine. I'll just do whatever. I mean, clearly it wasn't fine, but God bless you.
I thought I was going to sneeze and I didn't. I'm sorry.
I could tell. Wow. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Do we want to talk about Alderman?
What is there to say?
A guy named Alderman from Chicago, which is so funny to me.
He is just nice to her, and that's all that's needed for him to be better than her husband. But I just don't have anything to say about him.
True.
Yeah, it's not a very interesting performance, nor is it an interesting role. So... yeah, he's fine.
Shout out to
the gunshot sequence is really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you don't see the gunshots. You don't see like a little smoke. You don't see any.
Yeah.
It's just
you
full.
see the smoking gun, but you don't see anything on his body at all.
Yeah.
I do think when we were watching before we had to pause to record our earlier podcast, I was like, I can feel we're coming to the climax, and then Marty slaps Ruth.
And I said, oh, I think that's it. I think that's
the climax. And I was like, I think more is coming. And I will say, I guessed early. I guessed if he was going to shoot him. I was like, I have a feeling he's going to shoot him.
We just kept trying to guess, like, how is this going to end?
Only because I was like, well, he's a gangster and it's James Cagney.
Yeah. I was like, something is going to happen. He's going to like kill or like try to kill someone.
I don't know that I would have predicted. I do have a tendency of ruining media for Andrew by being like, well, here's the clues that they laid out that tells you that this is what's going to happen in the end. But I don't know that I would predict. I mean, I knew that something terrible would happen, but I did not know it would be like Alderman versus Ruth or what exactly would happen. So good for you.
And then the scene where he goes to open his nightclub because he wants to like put Marty Snyder presents Ruth Edding because he wants everyone to know that he owns her.
Yeah.
It was so gross. There was that scene where Georgie, who's like his bodyguard, whatever, like a guy who works for him basically, kind of says like, well, people will think
surpassed you.
She's your meal ticket. And he like decks him. And I was like, I knew as soon as he said meal ticket, I was like, he's not going to like that girl. He's not going to like it. He
decks him and the guy is just immediately out. And then he just like casually continues to walk. Like, it's crazy how not interested Marty is in what's going to happen after he makes this man unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do wonder, though, if it was, I'm trying to think of like, they were both born in 1893, 1896, and all of that, I think, happened. They got married in 1922, which now that I'm thinking about it, it's like she was 19?
Yeah.
Or something. No, she was younger than that. If she was born in 96, she was 16?
I'm bad at math. Okay, wait, 22.
22 to 96. Am I just bad at math?
It's 26.
Oh, 26. Okay. I do wonder, though, if they had both been like in their 30s, if I would have been like, there was something about him being so much older that also gave me like its own unease because he's been so volatile for so long that it's not like he's going to change his ways. Whereas like maybe a 30-year-old, I could be like, oh, well, he's still youngish. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do. I'm surprised that Adam keeps bringing up the age gap in the relationship because I was less bothered by it, and usually it's the reverse.
I wasn't bothered by it.
It was just like, wow, that's James Cagney.
Yeah.
It's more of, I think ours was more of a reaction of like physical, like, wow, he looks older than her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess because his performance is also a bit big, which I think comes from like the early cinema that he was a part of. And the limp is so like performative to me.
The
and
limp is so funny.
It's so much that like he was older, but also I almost felt like he had the vibes of like someone wearing old man makeup in a high school play at the same time.
Yes.
That it was almost like not real what the age gap was.
Very caricature-y.
Yeah.
Apparently the real Mo,
he did go by
Snyder,
the gimp, right?
his limp was on the other leg.
Oh, well, that's the only reason he didn't like the movie and the portrayal.
That's why he didn't like it. Yeah. He didn't portray his limp correctly. Well, I think we've really talked about it all. Now, quickly, shall we listen to a little bit of Etta Redding? Or, I'm sorry, Ruth Edding's other song. So 10 Cents a Dance.
Her OG
Love
sounds?
Me or Leave Me. Those are her big numbers. And then her other big number that they did not use for the movie is Shine On Harvest Moon. So I'll play that.
No time, ain't no time to stay outdoors and spoon. So shine on harvest moon for me and my gal. The night was mighty dark, so you could hardly see, for the moon refused to shine. Couple sitting underneath a willow tree, for love they pine. Little maid was
There you go. That's Ruth Edding.
I say bring back this 1930s sound. This is a style of singing that had a moment and it has not had a revival, and I think it needs a little comeback in pop music.
Absolutely.
If there is someone that is doing this, please let us know. Because I'm sure there's like a...
Let us know who's pure and sweet, and let us know
pure
who...
and sweet and Christian. We're only interested in listening to Christian artists from now on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Laufey? Laufey?
I've heard a couple of her songs.
I know their sound is like kind of in the...
I thought that was still more like 40s. I'm talking about this like ethereal Snow Whitey kind of sound.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, if anyone's got one, please.
Laufey.
Laufey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're hip. We know what's going on. We know what's cool in pop culture right now.
Obviously. That old Laufey and in your your pink
Chappelle
drinks.
Roan and, you know.
And your Nespressos or espresso.
Great.
Okay.
I want your love, but I don't want to borrow. To have it today and to give back tomorrow. For my love is your love. There's no love for nobody else.
Let's talk about this review that I found. This is from 2005.
Wow.
I don't know why Slant Magazine was doing a review of this movie in 2005. My guess is because it probably
50th
came out on
anniversary or something.
It was for the 50th probably. So they probably did like a new DVD release or whatever.
something.
Neither a Doris Day musical nor a ferocious James Cagney gangster film, Love Me or Leave Me is a fascinating hybrid. It's actually a slow crawl through a hellish relationship. The girl loves her career more than her man, using him as a loyal patron. He inwardly seethes and takes every opportunity to physically knock her down, even as he helps her to fulfill her dreams. Nightclub singer turned actress Ruth Etting was discovered by gangster Martin the Gimp. He initially secures her stage work to get in her pants. Crazy that's how they wrote that. But when he discovers her silky jazz voice, realizing her talent and her potential, he falls hard. Though the scenes between them take on the repetitive cycle of domestic abuse and forgiveness, it's a surprisingly complex portrayal of those twisted feelings. Day gives one of her better performances, not relying on her gorgeous body and cute smile. When playing opposite her generous co-star Cagney, her limited acting ability actually takes on a stoic kind of depth. Ruth is given heaps of abuse and limitations by the Gimp and never asks for pity. Instead, she accepts this lot in exchange for the ability to shine as a singer where Day is inherently graceful and sexy. Her 12 musical numbers are all light of fire, helped by Cagney's eager intensity on the sidelines. If we don't necessarily want her to stay with this corrupt boor, we at least understand her motivation and see how difficult it is for her to weave her way out. Cagney offers not only unbridled rage, but also insecurity, shame, warmth, and encouragement in rapid-fire beats, well deserving his Academy Award nomination that year. Ruth and the Gimp were both still alive when the movie was made, and though Love Me or Leave Me has an edge, it does pull punches. When Ruth slips into alcoholism and never feels ugly enough, Day's crying scenes feel increasingly strained, and the Gimp gets off a little too easy at the end, even after attempting violence on the piano player he believes to be her lover. But the first time the Gimp and Ruth have sex discreetly off screen, Love Me or Leave Me shows the chilling moment right before, Ruth falling on the bed, giving in to the inevitable as the Gimp grins wolfishly before lunging for her. The production value, cinematography, and script are all adequate, the running time too long, and the story too cyclical to rate this one a classic. But it's bold for its time, and the unlikely pairing of Cagney and Day generates bleak chemistry that feels like the worst, most painful kind of love.
Calling him the Gimp so much in this is not really called for.
To be clear, that is his nickname in the film. So because I didn't say that at any point earlier.
Yeah.
So just so the listeners know, but
just
yes.
weird that I feel like it's not used enough for it to be like the main way you identify
Right.
him in multiple sentences. But
Correct.
Yeah.
The Gimp. I do, you know what? As I was reading that, I was thinking the other scene I actually really like of Cagney is it the first time she performs and he has everybody at the big U table at the restaurant and he's telling them all to clap. He's looking around and then he sits. There is I will say there is a charm in the way that he watches her he says he's more nervous than she is, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
That
That's
all
true.
kind of works for me really well, but you definitely get more of a descent into the pain of the situation as the movie progresses.
Yeah.
It's not immediately as bleak as.
Yeah. They never start that way.
Okay. On Letterboxd, this movie has a 3.4 rating. There are basically no funny reviews of this.
Oh.
You'd be shocked to find out. So I found one. This is from Basic Brecht. Gave it 3.5 stars.
What a great name.
And they said the movie was good, but the Wikipedia rabbit hole it sent me down was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Weasel Fan, this is a strange review, gave it 3 stars and said, hard watch with how gross, pervy, and evil aging James Cagney was. Vehicle for Doris Day to sing the hits and take on a different type of role. Works, but kind of boring.
Evil.
And then Brian Leary gave it 2.5 stars and said, this won the Oscar for Best Story, but not for Best Screenplay, which jibes with my feelings that Ruth's life is fascinating, fair, but this film is really poorly paced.
Yeah. What did you say the average score is?
3.4.
3.4. Okay. That checks out.
Out of 5.
Yeah.
Who is everyone's MVP? I'm going to go first. It's James Cagney.
Okay. Well, then I'm taking Doris Day.
Great.
And RJ has to scramble.
You want me to go find his name?
The Ziegfeld Follies.
Yeah.
The Follies number?
The concept of the Ziegfeld Follies.
The concept of the Ziegfeld Follies. And I did like that it wasn't kind of the end all be all. It was very interesting that the end all be all was still Hollywood.
Oh, yes. Very against our usual musical theater instincts.
Yeah.
Molly, do you have a closer?
I came up with one in my head while we were talking. What current star, pop star, do you think will have the best biopic made about them in 25 years? And I'm looking for like got famous in the last few years. Looking for recency.
If you want something that has just the same amount of drama, it's for sure Britney Spears. Like you could definitely do
not super current, but I agree that would be a good film.
Yeah. I mean, she's already had like a Lifetime one.
That's not what we're talking about. Yeah.
You mean like if it was like
an Oscar bait biopic?
Yeah.
Current.
I do think
Chapel, I feel like, is the one that I think about, but I think we need to be more separated from it. It's so tiny.
I'm predicting Sabrina Carpenter will make for a good biopic one day. I don't know
I just don't know what her life. Yeah, I don't know what her. I don't know like what her personal life is.
That's the fun of the speculation. I'm trying to get you to come up with people that we don't know how this is all going to go. But I'm just predicting that Sabrina Carpenter is going to live an interesting life.
I think maybe in like 20 years, you could do a biopic of a narrow scope of like how RJ and I have talked about before, how we like biopics where it's like, it's just a weekend or it's like one day in the life of an event, like right?
My Weekend with Marilyn or whatever. Yeah.
And I think you could do that. Like, was it a bombing that happened at the Ariana Grande concert in England?
Pulse.
Yeah, that I think could be really interesting. I think the framing it around her would be kind of shitty, but you could do a way where it's like frames different people as like
be like her and a fan and maybe like a technician or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just because like even now it's like kind of crazy to think that
happened.
Yeah.
That's just one that stood out to me.
Oscar Beatty.
Mm-hmm.
Warren Oscar Beatty.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I feel like I still don't know if like the children will become stars in the future or pop stars in the future, but like I would like to see like a Blue Ivy.
Wow.
Kind of more of like, what is it like to be in like Parkwood? Like, what is it like to have Beyonce and Jay-Z as your parents?
I think right now I'd be more interested in a Blue Ivy documentary than a biopic. But I think the odds that Blue Ivy will do something interesting enough to make a movie out of is probably pretty high. So,
yeah. My other option would probably be like Chloe and Halle.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, you want drama. Unfortunately, it's there.
Yeah. Are they not friends anymore?
No. They're fine. They're like romantic, but like
just like what? Yeah.
She like just like put out all the information about how she was like abused by what's his name?
Yeah.
It's like so dark. It's like again very dark.
Very dark. Well, and could be interesting again when you have two people, and then you can have like parallel things going on, and
right.
Unfortunately, movies need conflict.
Yeah.
But I would love the true love story of Zendaya and Tom Holland one day.
Oh,
I just love how charming they are and how much they clearly like each other.
Yeah.
I don't know what the conflict of the movie would be other than people being like I don't know, maybe shitty toward her or him individually.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't think it should be like, I'm not worried about them. I want to watch a movie where I'm not worried about them, but maybe things happen and they like turn to each other for comfort. And I'd be like, oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Very nice, pleasant film to watch.
Right. Just a relaxing couple hours in the Tom Holland Zendaya world.
Yeah.
I need a full moment of when she became and Zendaya is Michi, when that became a meme.
Yeah.
And like the reaction.
I could also, and now again, we're going to get real dark. I could also envision a world where there's like a Kesha documentary later or like biopic with the Dr. Luke situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And you know, Molly and I will be watching because we're big Kesha stans.
We're True Blue. Love Kesha.
True Blue. Yeah.
I think Molly said Kesha's the greatest artist of the 21st century, right?
I don't know if I did, but I could make an argument for it.
Yeah, she could.
Great. Well, this has been so much fun to talk to both of you. As always, what a treat it's been.
Shorter than the movie. We did
Shorter
it,
than the
y'all.
movie.
We did it.
This is
See,
probably the
everyone?
shortest episode we may ever release.
Maybe.
There just wasn't
That much to talk about.
much to talk about. And now we're going to spend the next 15 minutes doing ASMR for you to fall asleep to.
Wait, should I get Adam's crunchy keyboard?
Oh, he's
Oh,
gonna
I
get
do
my
have a
crunchy
mechanical
keyboard.
Yeah.
This is pretty good.
Hello and welcome to your color analysis. Before we begin, my receptionist is just going to check you in.
Your name? What time was your appointment? Okay, let me check here real quick. And can I get the card on file? Can I jot this down for, what is it called at a hotel when they want to keep your card for, what's it called? And I'm going to keep this card on file for incidentals. Thank you so much. All right, looks like you're going to be down the hallway, the third room on your right, and the colorist will be in with you in a moment. That's not right. The color specialist, the color technician.
The color technician. Yeah, I think that's what we go for.
Perfect. Okay, well, this has been something. This has been something that you've listened to.
Happy Pride.
Happy
everybody.
Pride. See you in July. Thank you for listening to Showgays, a Cinema Musical podcast. This episode was edited and mixed by Adam Noecker. This has been an Ampliverse production. You can find the Ampliverse on Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at the Ampliverse. Check out our full roster of shows at theampliverse.com. If you'd like to send us your own takes on the movie we just watched, reach out to us via email, and we might just read it aloud on the show. Our email is showgaysmoviemusical@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find the show. And now, as always, the show must go on, so stick around to hear what we'll be watching next episode.
माँ भी यही कहती कि मैं जरूर हीरो बनूंगा।
अबे केशव मुखर्जी की माँ भी उससे यही कहती होगी।
अच्छा,
माओ के तो दिल ही कुछ ऐसे होते हैं यार।
तू एक दिन जरूर हीरो बनेगा, ये मेरा दिल कहता है, एक माँ का दिल कहता है।
अरे भाड़ में गया माँ का दिल। माँ, बस एक जूनियर आर्टिस्ट की नौकरी करते करते मर जाऊंगा मैं, पिताजी की तरह। न रम्मा न निल्लई रखे अट्ठी पट्टी कट्टी।
पप्पू मास्टर तुझसे कह रहा हूँ कि तू हीरो बनेगा।
जरा पता करना है कि ये मेरे डायलॉग क्या है।
तुम्हारा डायलॉग है भागो
भागो
शांति ओम का सेट हिंदुस्तान की सबसे बड़ी फिल्म का सबसे बड़ा सेट। इस कहानी का अंत में इस बार खुद लिखूंगा। पिक्चर अभी बाकी है मेरे दोस्त। ना 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 ना।